Let's begin our journey down domain services now by looking at the three major options you have available when you're trying to deal with authentication in Active Directory. To begin with, we have the new service that Microsoft released with Azure and Office 365, which is Azure AD, also known as AAD or Azure Active Directory. This is the primary mechanism now and should be your first choice generally when trying to develop any new services and use their authentication mechanism. If Azure AD is supported, that is the way of the future. Then we still have Active Directory domain services. This is where you might install a Windows Server 2016 or Windows Server 2012. You might already have one running on premises, and you do a DC promo on that server, and it sets up your directory service. So if you're in an enterprise, you probably used to log in on your laptop and you authenticate. You're authenticating against Active Directory when you do this. Then we've got Azure Active Directory Domain Services, AADDS. Now, this is a little bit different. This is where we actually have a managed version of Active Directory domain services. And we'll go into all three of these in a little bit more detail, but it's very important to be clear about which one you're talking about whenever you're dealing with Active Directory services in Azure. So let's take a look at Azure Active Directory in a little bit more detail. Again, that's AAD and has the icon depicted on the right-hand side. This is the modern AD service built directly for the cloud. It's often the same as your O365 directory. So if you have O365 already, you probably already have Azure AD and a tenant there. That's probably what you're going to use in your enterprise. You don't have to necessarily create a new directory service. It can sync with the on-premises directory service as well. And it's very important, as you'll see when we cover AD Connect Sync shortly. Then we've got Active Directory domain services. So again, this is a Windows server with Active Directory domain services role installed on it. This is legacy Active Directory since Windows 2000. It's your traditional Kerberos and LDAP functionality that you might need. And it's deployed on Windows OSs, usually on virtual machines. So, it can be still physical in some environments today, but for the most part, most people deploy it on a virtual machine. Then we go into Azure Active Directory Domain Services, AADDS. And this is a managed version of the predecessor we just looked at. So Active Directory Domain Services, if we want that fully managed for us, Microsoft will build that domain controller and maintain it. That's what Azure Active Directory Domain Services are. It allows you to consume domain services then without the need to patch and maintain domain controllers. So that's the single best benefit of this, is maintaining a whole directory services infrastructure can be quite a bit of work. Here, that's taken care of for you. The one thing to note, this does allow then domain join, group policy, LDAP, Kerberos, NTLM, all of that is supported. Again, you don't have to manage it, so this is especially good for people that aren't familiar with Active Directory domain services. They can simply go in and set up AADDS and get that functionality provided to them as a PaaS service in Azure.